You guys know I have the Sunday Rumble show. And on the Sunday Rumble, what we talk about on my other channel are things that are transpiring in the African American community. We talk about reparations. We talk about black male and black female relationships. Anything that is hot, okay, colorism in black America, we hit those topics. And we do so with a plethora of different personalities coming from all aspects of what we consider the black YouTube community every Sunday on my channel. But yesterday, which was Monday and Sunday, the day before, we talked about, does ADOS unity equals Pan-African disunity? And ADOS, for those of you who don't know what the term means, it means American Descendants of Slaves. And this was a term that was created. I think the idea comes from Claude Anderson originally, but the name, this one, is from Yvette Carnell in Tone Talks. And the ADOS stands for African Americans who are not continental Africans, who are not Caribbeans or Jamaicans or Haitians. And that the African Americans and those who are the children or ancestors of those people have a right to reparations in America and not other groups. Which, I totally agree. I'm a strong supporter of that notion. But there's a YouTuber named Taz who was on my show yesterday. He makes a very strong point, and I asked him, do you think that ADOS unity is a Pan-African disunity? What do you feel about Pan-Africanism? He says, I'm not against Pan-Africanism. I'm not against Africans. So the question I asked was why? He said, well, the reason why is because they are doing what the system allowed them to do. Why have hostility towards them when the system picked them to be as it is? This disunity that you see with the handpicking of successful African immigrants and them doing better than us, that is created by the immigration status in this country. Just like the immigration of Hispanics, you can't control it. Why be mad at them? The European immigrants who got bonuses and things, why be mad at them? The system allowed it. And when you think about it, and when you take all your emotions out of it, he has a goddamn point. And while we are sitting here talking about our mistreatment of Africans and how they've gotten over this or that, the only reason how that could have happened is because it was in somebody's plan for that to happen. And when you really think about this, and really I know this is going to turn some people off, but we really got to look at this, though, because he makes a strong, valid point. When I talked to some people when I was at Howard that were coming from the Caribbean or coming from Africa, their parents had let them know, and their parents' when they came over here, that people in immigration offices told them that you do not want to be known as an African American. You should want to stay away from black African American communities. You want to decipher yourself from them. Create an apartheid system between your cultures and theirs. You do not want to be known as an African American. You do not want your children to be dating African Americans. They have a bad reputation in this country. And the same negative propaganda that we have about Africa was given to Africans coming to America about us. Despite the fact that, African Americans have helped inspire a lot of things from Africa. But the thing about it is, the Africans that are doing well in America, they feel it's all of their doing. When in fact, they have been enabled to do what they're doing by handpicking these people. To come back and look at black Americans and say, okay, well, look at these people, how they're doing. Why are you not doing it? You've been here for the longest time. Why are you not doing it? Which causes the divisions between blacks and Africans. That I concede completely. I think anybody who doesn't believe that that's not true, you're being dishonest. That is definitely true. But to add on to Taz's point, not to say that I disagree, but I just want to add on to this. The wonderful assessment that he gave. We have different expectations of one another as African Americans and Africans. I will not really include Caribbeans in the conversation because the Caribbean communities have kind of been integrated with African American communities for a while. Especially in certain cities like, DC or certain cities like New York, Louisiana. They've been a part of the black communities for many years in different parts of the United States. Not in great parts, but enough. Okay, but for the African communities, we expect that they should look at things one way, and they expect that we should look at things in another way. But not knowing that we've both been duped almost the same way, just in a different formation. And so what we find ourselves doing is trying to battle over the crumbs. And I have to give Dynas Demir some credit for this. At the table, as some people might want to say. I don't know how much these crumbs are worth, but this is what he's saying. We have to really assess why things are how they are, really logically. And if we have the same hostility towards Africans, people are going to say, well, why don't you have these same hostilities towards the Hispanic community that takes your jobs? Or why isn't there the same hostility towards other communities? And the more that I'm thinking about it, to a certain degree, people have a point, okay? But at the same time, here's what we're missing in this whole conversation. We didn't offer the same umbrella or the same handshake that we did African and Caribbean communities in the black community. We just didn't. We had several people from African American communities that went over into Liberia, that went over into Ghana, that went over into South Africa and did things. We built colleges. We helped educate their people in a lot of different ways. So this is the reason why we feel that Africa and Africans should be more closer to us in our struggle. But at the same time, we got to remember and really strategically remember the same people who have systemically held black people back in America, who didn't give black people the same kind of rights, are the same groups of people that are trying to replace us. And they're using people from the continent to do that. Now, does it make a lot of sense to be mad at the people who want to get away from said country? That's devastatingly bad. I mean, I have to be honest with myself. When you go to Africa and you go to one of these U.S. embassies, which I had to go to to get a new passport when I was in Kampala, Uganda. Look at the people that are looking to leave their country. I got to be honest and say the average African, when they come to America, they don't care nothing about black history. They don't care nothing about, your ancestors paved the way for me. They coming over here for a better life. And they usually don't care where it's at. To be honest, have you seen these lines? It could be America. It could be Qatar. Anybody who's been to Doha, Qatar, you see the people that work there from the continent. It could be Switzerland. It could be the UK. It could be Ireland. People are looking for a better life anywhere else outside of where they're at. Now, to us, we're looking at it like, well, you guys owe me something. And for them, they're like, wait, hold on, I don't know you. I just know this is a rich country with great possibilities. Hey, listen, the United States let me in here, take it up with them. And this is the same situation that I want to talk about before I end when I was in Kenya with Wode Maya. Wode Maya was doing an interview on his channel. I was right there when he was recording. And this is a Chinese business lady in Kenya. And what she was doing is we ate at this restaurant, okay? And it was really, 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 really good. And this lady was very, very successful. She's married to Ugandan, but she was living in, had a big business in Kenya. She was doing import exports. And at the time, the Kenyans have been complaining about the Chinese getting visas and coming in and competing in the market. And Wode Maya asked her a question about, well, you know, the Kenyans have been complaining about the Chinese people coming over into Kenya. She said, well, the Kenyan government gave them the visas. If they're mad, they need to take it up with their government. Their government is the one that allowed these Chinese people to be here. And that's a strong point. You know? And I'm definitely down with ADOS. I'm definitely down with everything. But at the end of the day, the United States makes immigration decisions. It is them that lets over continental Africans. It is their agenda that allows other groups to come in and do stuff like that and replace blacks or whatever else. That's not the fault of the people for wanting to come over to America. It's the fault of the people who let the people in. If that's who you feel, if that's who you're mad at, you know, the frustration should lay less on the people who wanted to come to America and lay more on the people who allow it. If that's the argument. And I'm wholeheartedly agreeing with Taz on that. Now, at the same time, the disrespect that I do see from some communities, they go overboard bragging about their countries and how they're doing better than all of this, but won't step foot in their countries where they're from. Now, I'm gonna have a good time with them all day. And that disingenuous talk, that's a lot of African communities that tend to be bragging on situations to come to America and be bragging on their countries, but will never go back and live there and trying to diss African Americans. I'm gonna have a problem with that. But just being hostile to African immigrants because the United States allowed them to get a visa and to come over here and get a green card, that's not their fault. That's something that you take to the United States government and say, why is this happening? And again, that does require African Americans to vote, African Americans to put their money up and say this and that to certain politicians so that you don't get replaced. So I wanted to put that out there. But anyways, brothers and sisters, thank you for watching the video. Make sure that you guys like the video. Come on in here and all that. And as you guys know, the buffoonery remains an all-time high. Shout out to the people on patreon.com/NegroManosphere. And as you guys know, the buffoonery all-time high. I'm out.